So I'll get started. I just, when you have these meetings, one of the things that came through, and we started this morning, is that a strong university helps our state. And we started with Marshall Stewart and the extension team that he's put together throughout the state that's helped victims of the flooding and tornadoes. And it's all possible, and we thank the Governor Parsons and legislators for being a big part of recognizing that the strength of our university is so valuable to the people of the state of Missouri. On another note, I want to thank President Choi and the chancellors for the work that they've done over the last couple years at turning the university around in a positive way. There were some obviously negative items that had come up, and since President Choi has come here, very positive vibes going, and we get stronger week by week, month by month. That shows in the numbers of students that will be attending next fall, which is more than they were last fall. Another item I'd like to we appreciate the work CFO Ryan Rapp has done, not only on budgeting from an annualized budget, but from a 5-year strategic plan. And that takes a lot of work, not only from CFO Rapp, but with his team. And again, people from all 4 campuses. We're excited about tomorrow, starting a new building. Precision Health Medicine is going to be unbelievable for this university. And not only that, but we've never prioritized something from the curator standpoint, and that's the number one priority, and all 4 campuses are excited about it. The state will be excited, and the health of the citizens of the state will be benefited by what's going on tomorrow.
Thank you. I just want to reflect on the last speaker, student speaker, Jesus Oropeza, and he talked about the importance of getting that opportunity. He came from a town that had very few students in his high school class who were able to afford a college education. And the decision was made about 3 years ago under the leadership of the Curators, with the support of individuals like Kevin McDonald and others, to start the land grant scholarship. That provides tuition and fees for students who are Pell Grant recipients. But even for Pell Grant recipients, there's additional support that's needed. And Jesus talked about that sense of community that was brought about by student groups, whether it's the choir or the Mizzou Investment Club. And those are the opportunities that we want to provide every single student that attends our university, regardless of campus, that access an opportunity. And it was a very powerful way to end the Board of Curators meeting. 2 years ago, when I started in my position, I laid out the focus of having student success as a primary goal. And we're going to continue that hard work because that makes a difference for students like Jesus Oropeza, who's going to pay back by giving back to the next generation by serving as a role model. So with that, let me open it up for questions and perhaps some comments. So Roger?
Yes. Can you each tell me maybe the biggest takeaway from the budget that was approved?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the biggest takeaway is that during the past 3 years, the university leadership, working with the curators, has developed a strategic focus that was based in principle to invest in programs of excellence, to transform the operation so that we have less duplication and creating more efficiencies. And the purpose of that, as Ryan Rapp stated, was not to give a dividend back to shareholders. The purpose of it was so that we can reinvest those funds, whether it's through new revenue or transformation of our business operation, into the critical things that we do as a university, including scholarship for students, investing in research programs like the Precision Medicine Complex, and engagement by supporting families who've been affected by the drought last year and those who are affected by floods. Ryan Rapp, Vice President Rapp, also indicated that there's a lot of hard work ahead. We have some very aggressive targets in terms of our leveraging capabilities, our bonding capabilities, so that we can continue to grow the university. So we're going to work with all of the chancellors and the leaders at the campuses and hold them accountable, like we hold ourselves accountable, to meet those goals so that we can continue to make investments in the areas that would distinguish the university.
You know, I think one of the keys from the curators a couple years ago when President Choi came in was we know the direction, higher education is changing ongoing and will change in the future. So it won't ever look like it did in the past with state funding, et cetera. So you have to take a different look with different ideas from a budgeting standpoint. And what Ryan Rapp said today is there's always an annual budget, but there also had to be a strategic plan and innovations going forward. And so not only are you thinking of an annual budget, but the strategic 3-year, 5-year plan going forward. We all in higher education have to change the thought process of where we're going and how we're going to get there. And it's the quality education that we have to do and the ways of making sure the university is strong is a big key.
Next question. I have a question about I know in your report, President, about enrollment numbers. I know Mizzou is up by 17%. But some of the other two universities are decreased by almost like 10%. So what's kind of the feeling around that? Those like decreases while Mizzou is increasing a lot?
Yes, there's more work to do. The reductions occurred at UMSL, but because they have a smaller base of freshman students who actually enroll, we're talking about a reduction of maybe about 30 to 40 students compared to last year. With Missouri S&T, they have a new way of counting accepted students, which is different than it was last year. So the reduction that you saw in the percentage was not really comparing apples to apples. We were looking at the 20th day census numbers for S&T last year. So we have several months to make up that difference, and I expect that we're going to make a lot of progress in that area. But overall, enrollment is up. And if you count the number of Mizzou, MAC, jointly admitted students, which number close to 400, Mizzou's going to have about 6,000 new students coming into the university, and that's not counting transfer students. So we're in a very good shape. I think we are capturing more of the market in Missouri, but also in cities like Dallas and Chicago. And it speaks to the quality and the affordability of the education that we provide.
The group 15 from Mizzou will be demonstrating here just a little bit. Could you maybe explain the current system for the wages here? I know in November, the statewide vote was passed to increase, but since Mizzou is government-owned, it doesn't apply there. Could you explain how that current system works and kind of comment on the rally that's happening?
So the rally that's happening is about protesters or individuals who wish to see us increase our minimum wage to $15. So we want to pay our employees a fair wage, that's for sure. And I've been saying, and the curators have been saying, that whether it's faculty, staff, part-time and full-time, that we are on the lower end of the pay scale when we compare ourselves to our peers. So the impetus and the focus in trying to provide more resources for pay increases is something that we take very seriously. We didn't know what the budget situation was going to be 2 years ago when we began, because the state, up until then, the state had been cutting our appropriations. But despite that, we said we're going to have a merit and an equity pool built into our budget so that we can address those pay issues. So that's an ongoing process that we're going to follow for faculty and staff to increase their salaries. But to go from where we are currently to jump to $15 will be very difficult. And we did some calculations, and it would take about $50 million to get to that level. Now, we would love to be in a position financially to pay our people a salary that is fair and just, and that is market-driven. But to increase our salaries to $15 for all of our staff will require another $50 million. And $50 million is equivalent to eliminating the School of Education and the School of Engineering at this campus. And so, given that the support from the state is flat, tuition increase hasn't increased all that much during the past few years, we just don't have the availability of resources to be able to meet that. But having said that, our goal is to continuously evaluate the market and to increase the salary for our faculty and staff.
Kind of going off that question, you talked about the merit-based,
Mhm.
like raising, and one of the things for 15 from Mizzou is they're saying that those kind of programs actually involve a lot of favoritism and don't actually result in the people who need it getting the raises.
Mhm.
So I was just, and so they're proposing to doing 4 years of expected raises during your time at the university and then switching to merit-based. So what is your opinion on that?
I am a big proponent of merit increases, and merit increases recognize outstanding performance, meritorious performance, and there may be instances in which you said that favoritism occurs, but our process is a very streamlined, uniform process in which our supervisors are trained to identify meritorious performance, and they're documented. And if there are issues that we uncover regarding favoritism or others, we will address those matters. And so if there are readers to the Missourian that want to approach us, please have them contact our Chief Human Resource Officer, Marcia Fisher.
Do we have anybody on the phone that has a question? Okay.
Mr. President, this is Elisa Nelson with MissouriNet. I just actually popped on the call. Can you summarize what you have said so far?
You mean from the beginning, or? So we talked about, the question was asked about enrollment at Mizzou, but also enrollment at the other universities. But overall, enrollment has increased for the entire system compared to last year. And then we talked about the $15 minimum wage, and I share that we are always mindful of recognizing that some of our faculty and staff are on the lower end of the pay scale. We made that very public by comparing ourselves to like institutions across the United States. And another question was asked about our evaluation process for merit, and I share that our process is very rigorous, it's uniform, and that supervisors are trained. But if there are situations in which people feel that the evaluation process is not fair, they should contact Marcia Fisher, who I believe just walked in the room. So that's a quick synopsis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, hi,
Anybody else on the phone or other questions?
yes.
So kind of going back to, well, first, I have a quick follow-up question to that.
Mhm.
My first question. So what are some of your, like, the ways that you are going to try to increase the numbers? You said there's still a lot of work to do. What are some of that, what is that work?
Increase the numbers in terms of.
And enrollment at the other two.
Oh, at the other two universities? Well, this year, we are working with the three campuses, Mizzou, UMSL, and UMKC are going to work with Ruffalo Noel Levitz, and that is a nationally recognized firm that works on enrollment strategies. And the other two campuses that I mentioned, UMKC and UMSL, have to do more in terms of social media marketing and to be able to have early marketing to students who are in sophomore and junior years to build that pipeline of student interest going in. Mizzou began that process about 2 years ago, so they're much further ahead. And because of that, the growth that Mizzou has experienced over the past 2 years has been phenomenal. Took a lot of hard work from individuals at this campus, but also they were very smart in leveraging social media and effective marketing, not only in Missouri, but in out-of-state locations like Chicago, Dallas, and Houston.
And then I had a quick follow-up to other, about the $15 thing. How are you, gonna try to be competitive with the wages, now that, like with Proposition B? How are you gonna continue to be,
Well,
competitive?
well, we are always looking for ways to be competitive, and the job market is very dynamic, it's very fluid, and each year, perhaps there's a turnover anywhere from 5 to 10% of our workforce at the university system level. So we have to be very nimble and understand the job market and the demand and supply of talent that's out there. So that's something that we will continue to evaluate as we move forward. But we do recognize that we have to increase our faculty and staff salaries going to the future.
We've got time for maybe two more questions.
Roger? No? By the way, you didn't ask a question. Do you have a question? Yeah.
No, I was gonna ask about the 15.
Oh, okay, good.
That was mostly.
Sorry, are you finished?
No, you're good.
Sorry. I also, so kind of like the resource allocation and stuff, kind of going back to the budget. Some colleges are gonna be like assessed on like the revenue they make. How exactly do those like colleges make revenue? And yeah.
Yeah. If you're speaking about the revenue model that's going to be introduced at Mizzou, it is a model that we call an RCM model, and that is based on where the revenues are generated. And while we are not a traditional business like a for-profit corporation, we do have revenues and expenses. And for a university unit, like a college or a department, the revenues can come in through multiple channels, tuition being one. It can also be research and philanthropy and other sources of funds that support the three critical missions of a university. But we also incur expenses. And prior to the launch of this model, expenses were actually paid centrally, even though they were incurred locally. Like how much space does a unit occupy? How many computers does a unit have for teaching purposes? And so by relating the revenue to the expenses, a department unit chair can identify ways to maximize revenue, minimize expenses, but with the goal of maintaining a high-quality research and educational institution. So it will allow units to be more entrepreneurial, but also think twice about making investments that may not generate new revenue or that may not generate a high-quality program. So we all have to be a little more entrepreneurial, because the only way that we're going to be able to grow as a university and provide more support for our students and faculty, that revenue has to go up. And like Charles Kim, the consultant, mentioned, we can't just cut our way to excellence. That revenue has to go up. So it's a very innovative approach, but it's an approach that's going to lead to programs that are focusing on excellence to thrive. And programs that may not achieve that excellence, that may not be able to grow to the degree that they wish to grow. So it'll give that control at the department level and the dean's level.
Anything else?
On the,
Anybody on the phone? Any questions? Thanks for coming,
I
everybody.
do have a question.
Oh,
yes,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah, I do have a question that the Mizzou workers they're building coalitions to address their wages. Are you concerned about that, and how are you going to address the group when they arrive at your meeting underway?
Our meeting just concluded. Are we concerned? Well, we're concerned about the welfare of individuals who work at the university, and we want to listen to the concerns that they have to have a productive, constructive discussion. But I want to emphasize what I said from the beginning. We recognize that we must increase salaries for staff and faculty, and that's been our goal at least for the past 2.5 years. And so if we do, if the individuals who are requesting the $15 minimum wage were to approach us, we want to have a dialogue with them to understand their concern, share some of our constraints that we have as a university, but I think we can come to a good understanding that we need to work together to achieve the goals that we have of treating our employees fairly and understanding the market dynamics that are out there for jobs in this environment.
You had talked about being competitive with some of the other peer institutions and comparing wages. How does Mizzou, how does the university compare then to peer institutions?
So I believe during the last board meeting at Rolla, or a few board meetings ago, I shared our comparison of faculty salaries to their peer institution. And Mizzou is compared to Research One highest institutions, and there are 115 universities that are part of that grouping. And when it comes to assistant professors, we ranked 114 out of 115. And I shared that same data in March 2017 and said that we're going to need to address it. We've been addressing it with a merit pool in 2017, a merit pool in 2018, and that merit pool will continue into the future, not only for faculty, but faculty and staff as well.
What about staff? You had talked about faculty wage. What about other staff wages?
So when we looked at, the same comparison, when we looked at management, computer technologists, and administration, administrative support, many of those categories were in the bottom quintile, but they were not as low as the faculty salaries.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.